All right, welcome to Believe in Clemson Football. I'm Will Vandervort. That's our producer, Alex Dodd. We appreciate you guys joining us as we talk about the offseason. And I know it's been a while since we've been on. First of all, Alex, how you doing, man? Happy New Year to you. I've talked to you, but I don't ever actually get to see you. So Happy New Year, buddy. How you doing?
Yeah, man, it's good to see you. You always look better in my head than you do in real life. So, it's
You're the first person to tell me that. I'm usually the other way around.
yeah, no, it might be the best of both worlds. I don't know. A pleasant surprise. A pleasant surprise.
It is. Well, glad to have you, man. Life is great here as well. Busy time. If anybody's been reading me on the Clemson Insider, they understand it's been pretty busy for me as we got a ton of coaching news to talk about. As we'll get you caught up with the latest in Clemson coaching search for their new defensive coordinator. Today, Clemson made another big announcement on the recruiting trail, I guess transfer portal trail. We'll talk about that because Dabo Swinney in the transfer portal.
Portal Dabo is tearing it up right now. Man, he's getting everything he wants and needs out of the portal. So
he is. He's doing a great job so far. So so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the offseason as a whole and what we expect in the next season, because not only did Dabo and company, Alex, go out and get a couple new players from the transfer portal, but guess what they've also done? They've retained all their current players.
Major pieces.
The major pieces.
All the major pieces are back.
And so it's crazy what they've done, and they've done a great job. So, we appreciate you guys joining here. We're going to get into all that here in just a second. First of all, though, we want to go ahead and thank our sponsors, and it starts off, obviously, with the Clemson Insider, the most complete coverage of Clemson athletics and recruiting news. Clemson Insider has helped us a bunch here on the podcast and getting the situation up and with Facebook page and our YouTube page and everything else on the Clemson Insider. So we appreciate Robert McRae and the crew over there as they, once again, always help us with the website. But we also got a new sponsor, Alex, to the show. And today's show is presented by Birdie Burst Golf. If you haven't heard, Birdie Bird's mission is to revolutionize golf by cruising through the country club gates with style and bringing the game we love back out to the people, particularly the next generation, with the innovative approach to smoothing out your learning curve and their student swings too. Birdie Burst helps teach the game to all golfers of all ages and skill levels with a tailor-made instruction on an online platform. Birdie Burst golf coach Stephen Bradley, a good friend of mine and Alex's, is an award-winning communications professional. He's safe sports trained, a master's student at Kaiser University's College of Golf, and he's working on his own game as well. You can find Birdie Burst Golf on Instagram and on Facebook. You can also email them at birdieburstgolf@gmail.com. Again, that's birdieburstgolf@gmail.com. Excited to have them now as a sponsor of Believe in Clemson Football, and you guys need to go check them out. I'll tell you, it's a revolutionary kind of thing that what Steve is doing and his crew is going to do over there, Alex. I really like it. I think it's going to be pretty, not only for the people in the upstate of South Carolina, but it's going to be good for people just who want to talk to them online anywhere.
Yeah, and the other thing too is, I feel like, I don't know if you've been to a golf coach before, but I went to a golf lesson one time, and you got these coaches that want to like touch your leg and like move your knee and stuff. They're like, you're
Alex. I don't know what kind of golf lessons you've gone to,
but they do all this weird stuff, and you got all these weird people. The good thing is Steven's not one of those weird people. He's a cool guy who just wants to help you with your golf, and that's kind of welcome. He's not going to yell at you and whatever either. So golf is very nuanced, and Steven's got experience there, so he'll help you out.
He does, and he's going to do a great job, and you guys are going to like him. So, listen, as we get into the show here today, guys, if you got questions for me and for Alex, start throwing them in. We'd love to hear from you. Any question you want to ask about the coaching search, about the transfer portal, anything you guys want to ask, throw it in there in the comment section. We'll do our best to answer it and get you some ideas on what's going on. I'm going to give you some news first before we get rolling, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have already know this and are probably as thrilled as every Clemson fan is out there. But once again, the Tigers have dipped into the transfer portal, Alex, and they picked up a huge addition in Alabama transfer linebacker Jeremiah Alexander, a 5-star recruit from the 2022 class. He's got 2 years of eligibility, 6'2", 240 pounds. Alex, this is another great move by Dabo Swinney. Am I correct?
Well, and the other great thing about Jeremiah Alexander is, they list him as the linebacker in their tweet or whatever today. So you think obviously that's probably what they want him to do at Clemson. But the good thing about a guy like Jeremiah Alexander is he can kind of do whatever you need him to. Mm-hmm. He's kind of a jack of all trades. He's listed in there as an edge / linebacker. So he can come up and play on the edge and give you some support there. The other good thing about that too is who knows what Clemson's defensive coordinator is going to be running on the other side. So to have versatility in a guy who can kind of play both, he could play in a 3-3-5, he could play in an odd front, he could play a traditional, Sam or Will or Mike or nickel kind of. I mean, he's got a lot of versatility. Probably not nickel; he's a pretty big guy, but got a lot of versatility and can do a lot of things for you.
Well, and it depends, and we're going to get into the defense coordinator situation here in a minute, and it depends on what Clemson's going to do stylistically, schematically as a defense. I like the idea, Alex, and, I'm a fan of the 3-4. I'm a Steelers fan, so of course I am.
Yeah, how could you not be?
How could I not be? And so I look at this defense and the way it's structured, and it could be a 3-4. And look at here. Somebody's already got Tickle Tiger. He's already said 3-4 is now in play. Absolutely it is, because now you can put 4 linebackers on the field that you feel real good about. Yep. And it does it with a guy like him. And I'll explain this to somebody earlier today. Now, I'm not saying he's TJ Watt or Alex Highsmith, but he's that kind of body type. In other words, he's athletic enough to drop back into coverage and to do what he needs to do there. And he can also play as a rush end and go get the quarterback. He can stand up. He can do different things. So they can do a lot of things with him. Now, they might put him in the middle. And, like I said, it depends on what the defensive coordinator wants to run. But I think with the personnel he's got at place at Clemson, I think they could play the 3-4 now with this guy coming in and actually getting on the field with them. And so I think it's a great move. And I think, there's a lot of possibilities you have with it, without a doubt.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it goes to what did Clemson need when they went to the portal this offseason? They needed some depth on the defensive side of the ball. Well, now you've got Will Helt, who's an all Big Ten performer from Power Conference, who's going to make an immediate impact. You've got some depth with a guy like Jeremiah Alexander, and you were able to bring back the guys that had eligibility that could make a difference for you. Yeah, you lost Trey Williams up front, but you felt good about the inside already, especially with what you saw from Peter Woods going down the stretch. You saw him move inside a little bit more, maybe where he's more comfortable. So Clemson's got a lot of options. This new defensive coordinator is going to be licking his chops when he comes in, and is definitely going to be happy with what Swinney and company have done for him to give him a little bit more depth. And we didn't even mention Tristan Smith, who's a guy coming up from a lower level that was a playmaker and gives you depth in the receiver room. Really, you kind of hit everything that you could hit from the portal. You got an experienced Power 4 guy, you got a guy that needed a fresh start, and you got a guy from a lower level looking to prove himself. So, man, you got to be happy with what the Tigers have got just from dipping their toe in the portal.
Yeah, and we're going to get into all that here in a little bit when we'll break down the roster and all that and get into more of those 3 guys you just mentioned, the other 2 guys you mentioned as well from the transfer portal. But I know a lot of people are interested in what's going on with the coaching search. It's the big news right now. As you guys know,
we've only got 80 comments since we started the show of what's the update on the coaching search.
So I know there's a lot out there. As you guys know, Dabo Swinney, he officially announced on on Monday morning that they parted ways with defense coordinator Wes Gordman. Of course, if you were paying attention to the Clemson Insider, we had that on January 1st that Dabo was going to make that move. So here's what we could tell you the latest as of this morning. In a report I put up this morning, according to our sources, Clemson has had contact with Tennessee defensive coordinator Tim Banks' camp. As of right now, and listen to the wording here, as of right now, according to the information we have, Banks will not be the guy at Clemson. Now, I can't tell you why that is, but listen to how I'm saying that. I'm not saying that Banks said he's not interested or Clemson's not interested. I'm just telling you right now, he will not be the guy at Clemson. TCI also heard as of Tuesday that Clemson has not spoken with Georgia Tech defensive coordinator Tyler Santucci. Excuse me, Alex, I'm probably messing
Tyler
that up. Santucci, there we go. They have not spoke with Santucci yet. Banks and Santucci are two names that TCI has had from the beginning as potential candidates to replace Goodwin, who Swinney, as I said, let go of on this past Monday officially. We also want to go ahead and pass along some news that we heard late last night and early this morning on two other potential candidates. Again, remember, guys, as I'm telling you this, the coaching search is always fluid. There's and dynamic, and things can certainly change. So what I'm not saying is set in stone, so understand that. But from what we heard, one of the potential new candidates is currently coaching in the college football playoff. I can't tell you who that is just yet. I know
there has been a lot of rumor and information circulating in the universe that might let you know who Will is talking about.
Maybe and maybe not.
You could have just stayed silent. You don't have to say anything.
Yeah, maybe and maybe not. But I can tell you that Clemson can't move forward with an interview with a candidate who's currently in the college football playoff until their season is over. And that's part of the reason why we don't want to release any names just yet. We also want to make sure we confirm that candidacy as well, with a little bit more information. Want to get a little bit more information out before I throw that out there, that name out there. And maybe I get that tonight. Maybe I get it in the morning. Stay tuned, and we'll definitely have it out there for you. Another candidate, and a guy I'm pretty excited about, Alex. I would love this guy to be defense coordinator personally. Indiana defense coordinator Bryant Haynes. He just finished his first season at Indiana. Haynes helped Indiana to its first college football playoff appearance. He's been a part of Kurt Sagnitti's crew for the last 4 years. Last 5 years on 4 different teams that Sagnitti's coached. He's been the coordinator or the co-coordinator of those defenses. Last year, though, Alex, Indiana, listen to these numbers. They ranked second nationally in total defense this past season, allowing just 256.3 yards per game. They also ranked 6th in scoring defense, 15.6 points per game. And they led the country in rushing defense, 80.2 yards per game. They also ranked 3rd nationally in yards per carry allowed and 9th in passing defense. They also, I know a lot of people like to look at these numbers too. They were tied with Clemson this past season with 35 sacks, which ranks 26th nationally. They also ranked 16th nationally in tackles for loss with 95, just 2 behind Clemson, which was ranked 12th with 97. In the past, he's had top 10 defenses at JMU, including last year where his unit led the nation in run defense, giving up just 61.5 yards. Alex, I'm going to tell you this, dude. This is a good defensive football coach, okay?
Yeah. When you can adapt to your personnel, and let's also point this out, at Indiana, they didn't have the best personnel coming into the year. They had a lot of JMU guys that were not Big Ten guys that were on their defense. And when you're able to adjust your personnel and still have a top unit, regardless, that really says something about you. And he's done it at every single level. He did it at FCS. He did it at Group of 5, and now he's done it in Big Ten, a team that went to the college football playoff. So, he's done it at every level.
And think about it this way. He did it at Indiana, who last year was 4-8.
Yeah.
Okay. And everybody's like, yeah, but they didn't play anybody. Well, guess what, guys? They didn't play anybody last year either, and they went 4-8. So they brought in some players with them from JMU, and they came over to Indiana, and they dominated for the most part. They dominated everybody not named Ohio State. And who they lose to in the playoff? Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, yeah.
That's all. That's it. Everybody else, they dominated. And, I mean, they dominated.
Yeah. Shut them down.
And so that's what you want. You don't think he can come into the ACC and shut down ACC offenses? I think he can. And let's be honest, and maybe he's got the personnel at Clemson. Well, guess what? He could shut down LSU, and he could shut down South Carolina, and he could shut down anybody in the college football playoff. Maybe because with Clemson's personnel and what he already can do with lesser personnel, this guy could be pretty doggone salty. And I've heard Clemson fans out there saying, "Oh, I don't want him." Well, then you're not paying attention if you don't want this guy. I'm sorry. This guy knows his stuff, and he's an experienced coordinator. And another thing, Alex, he's still young. He's only like 36 years old.
Yep.
And he's got like 12 years of experience as a coach, 5 years as a coordinator experience. This is a guy you want to bring in to kind of run your program for a while. He's going to be around a while. He's not just going to be, a year or two. No, this is a guy that can take your program to another level and be in there for a while. This is a great candidate, and he's a serious candidate. This is not somebody that I'm saying should be a candidate. This is somebody we've heard is going to be a candidate for this job, and that there's a lot of fire there. And so this is somebody Dabo is really interested in, and they want to talk to at Clemson, and we'll see where it goes from here. Doesn't mean he's going to get the job. It just means they're interested in him.
Yeah, the only thing that concerns me in this avenue is, obviously Clemson has the resources to make a better offer, and Clemson's a better location and all those things. Like, Clemson has all the positives going for him. The one negative that Clemson has in that particular scenario is been with him the whole way. He's been on this staff when they were in the FCS, and then he's been with this same staff when they were in the Group of Five.
But he didn't start out with them.
Staff at Indiana.
He didn't start out with them.
So that's the only thing that Clemson has that's not going against, that goes against it in this scenario. And it is a big thing. It is a big thing.
Yes and no. As I said, he didn't start out with him. He started out at Ball State,
right?
And so as a linebackers coach, and did that for a while. I'm not buying. Wayne says he's not buying the Haynes stuff because he's available now and the move hasn't been made. Well, Wayne, if you just heard me, the reason the move hasn't been made is because there's a couple people Dabo wants to talk to that's busy
that are still playing football this week.
That might be playing in the college football playoff and also playing in the NFL playoffs. And Dabo wants to talk to those people. Now, some of those people you guys know. I know one of those guys I could talk about. And that guy's name is Leonard. Some of you guys have asked me about him out there. The Denver Broncos defensive backs coach. From everything we've heard, we could tell you there's some smoke there, that there may be some interest there on both sides. But, that's about all I can tell you at this point. I can't say that he is an official candidate because, that right now is something that, as you know, you do these things, Alex. It's like he sounds like he's a guy that's going to be somebody that could be, and there's some interest there. But they got to talk to him first, and they can't do that till next week at the earliest.
And you're also dealing with another thing in these searches that people don't really think about is you're dealing with agents, and a lot of times an agent will put a name forward for a guy that could be a potential candidate without even discussing it with the person they're representing, because that's how it works. You get put forward for a job, and then you gauge your interest afterwards when you can have a conversation. And when you can't have a conversation within the rules, which they can't, then there's a lot that still has to be discovered. So you want to know all your options. And why wouldn't you want to have one of these guys that's coaching in the college football playoff this week, or that's coaching in the NFL playoffs this weekend? Those are the type of guys that you really want to have. These are the guys you really want to have. So, and the Broncos are in the NFL playoffs, Ron.
You're right.
So that's the playoff that we're talking about.
And he's not the DC. And he's not the DC.
Not the DC. He's the defensive backs.
Right. He's a defensive backs coach, and he's a guy that I think is going to be a guy that's interested and would be interested in Clemson and vice versa. I know, just talking to my sources, that he's the kind of guy that wants to kind of get back into college. He likes the NFL, but, he had a lot of success at Wisconsin as a defense coordinator. He wants to be a head coach at the college football level one day.
Yep.
And, I think, he made some move, went over to the NFL to kind of get his feet wet, what that's like, kind of experience it. But I think if the right job comes along, and Clemson would be the right job, he would jump back into college to be a DC. and maybe, get some more experience like Brent Venables did. And I don't know how long Jim Leonhard, I don't know how long he'll be here, if that happens. So, Bronco decision comes this week. Buffalo will destroy. Yeah, probably so.
You never know. You never know. Bo Nix is playing good football right now. He's playing good football right now.
He actually really is. He actually is really playing really good football. So, yeah, and I saw one up there. Somebody said something about one of the playoff teams. Why would a defense coordinator playing for a national championship at one of the schools now leave Clemson? Leave to come to Clemson, I think was the question.
Yeah.
Guys, I get that, but why not?
Yeah.
I mean, Clemson's already won 2 national championships.
Maybe the coach doesn't like cold weather. Maybe he wants to hang out on the lake.
And also I want to say this because a lot of people ask that question, like, why would they want to leave this school to go to Clemson? I hear that a lot. Guys, people love Clemson. This is one of the destination jobs. Coaches, if you talk to coaches around the country, as I have and Alex has, they'll tell you this is like one of the premier jobs in the country. I mean, even before Dabo Swinney, people wanted to come to Clemson because of just the area it's in and where it's located and the tradition that surrounds Clemson football and the fan base and how the fan base cares, like you guys care about Clemson football. I mean, guys, put it this way, okay? Clemson fills up its stadium every Saturday and they're playing Wake Forest, okay? They're not bringing – it's like that other team in the South in this state that's down in Columbia. They fill up their stadium because they get 15,000 fans from Georgia, Auburn, or Alabama, or Ole Miss that travel, right? Nobody in the ACC travels except Clemson and Virginia Tech and Florida State. That's it. Nobody else travels, and their fan bases travel. None of them do. And Clemson still fills up its stadium. Even though they got nobody from the other team coming.
North Carolina and Duke fans don't travel to across town for a football game.
Yeah, it's exactly. So yeah, it's like, so give yourselves credit, guys. The reason people want to come here is because of you, because of the Tiger fans. They want to come there because of that. They want to come here because of the tradition, and they want to come here because Clemson has won national championships recently, and there's a head coach who has done it. And they want to be a part of that and learn from that head coach because that's something they may want to do as a head coach one day. So there's a lot of reasons why, Alex, that this job is so big for a lot of people, why they would be interested in taking it and leaving even a school that's already in the college football playoff.
Yeah, I mean, and also, let's be honest, Clemson's beat out these schools in the college football playoff for a bunch of recruits for the same reasons. Mm-hmm. And somebody who's a football guy who's experienced and has been around the country and seen a bunch of different places and played at a bunch of different venues, that person would know what Clemson means. So that's the reason. I mean, this happens every year. There are people who make seemingly lateral moves for personal reasons, and coaches are the same way. And also Dabo Swinney is another good reason why somebody would want to leave their current post to go to another one, because he's a different kind of coach. There aren't a lot of guys that do it like he does. And it's becoming more and more exceedingly rare that there are guys like Dabo that are doing this.
Absolutely. I'm going through some questions here. I'm just seeing what I can find.
And keep them coming, guys. You're giving us a lot of good ones.
Keep them coming. Keep them coming. I'm just kind of strolling through. Alex, if you see one too, bring it up.
Yeah, we'll kind of talk about the potential of an internal promotion. A lot of guys in the comments are mentioning that.
Yeah. So I can tell you this. I can tell you this, that I can say this much. A guy like Mike Reed would be an internal guy that they would look at, and but from everything we've heard, Dabo Swinney wants to go outside and bring somebody new in, like he did on the offensive side, bringing in Garrett Riley and bringing in Matt Luke. He wants to bring in a fresh perspective, bringing somebody else's experience into his coaching room. That and that this is the dynamic you do. And Dabo tried it the other way; it didn't work as well. And so now he wants to come out and go back and bring in some experienced veteran coaches who can bring in. So, like, let's say you get into certain situation, guys, and if you have Dabo's way of thinking, a lot of coaches think the way Dabo is, and that's good. But then there's really nothing else to bring to the table because they're all Dabo guys and they have the same thoughts and philosophy Dabo has, right? Well, you bring in a guy like Matt Luke or Garrett Riley, and they come in there and they're like, well, that's good, but when I was at this school, we would do this. When I was at that school, we would do this. To bring that extra chain of thought into the process, it helps tremendously. And you've seen that on the offensive side of the ball. And I think that's what you're going to see on the defensive side.
Even when you have a good culture, it's good to have outside perspective to bring new ideas and to bring new philosophies to that. And it strengthens the culture as well. And, hey, guys, we agree that Mike Reed is a great corners coach. You're not going to get any argument on that. And Clemson's better for having him and has been better for having him on staff. So who knows what would happen with that if Clemson does go outside the house. But, he's been great to Clemson. I think he'd be a great defensive coordinator for anybody. So you're not hearing us criticize Mike Reed's resume.
Dude, nobody loves Mike Reed more than this guy right here. I mean, I love and respect Coach Reed a bunch, and I love talking ball with that guy, talking shop, and I would love to see him get the opportunity. But from everything we're hearing, it sounds like Dabo's going to go outside and bring in a more experienced defensive coordinator, somebody who has been a defensive coordinator at this level. That's big for Dabo to bring in. Our friend JP, otherwise known as Jason Priester, who has his own podcast that you guys love, I know.
JP Live.
JP Live. JP says, don't forget how Dabo treats his staff compared to a lot of other head coaches out there. That is true, JP. I'm glad you brought that up because Dabo is a little different than most coaches. Like they come to practice. He lets the coaches' kids come to practice. And right now, Dabo's has a lot of young people on his staff, and they have a lot of young coaches, and they got a lot of young families on his staff, and they let their kids come on not only to practice, but remember who were on the sidelines at Clemson when they were growing up, Alex? What kids were those?
That would be William Swinney and Drew Swinney and Clay Swinney.
Dabo's done this for years, and he's got it to where Clemson has made sure that if a coach wants his kid on the sideline and they don't get in the way, they'll let him be on the sideline.
And Judah and J.D. Davis.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he's done this in the past, and so
DJ Greenlee. I mean, there's been a ton of Clemson football players that have roamed those sidelines as kids.
That's just one of the things he does. Another one is, Dabo. One thing I love about Dabo is on Sunday mornings he tells his coaches to be with your families.
Yep.
He tells them, don't come into this facility till 1:00 on Sunday. I don't want to see you coming in until 1:00. I want you to go take your family to church or whatever, take them to breakfast, spend some time with your family. They have Wednesday family night where everybody's family on the staff comes to the facility and they all get together. It's like a big barbecue every Wednesday night. And they do that so the Dabo's coaches can see their families and spend time with their families because this job is a demanding job. And there's very few staffs. I can tell you that did not happen at Alabama. I can tell you that did not happen when Will Muschamp was the coach at South Carolina. There's other coaches that don't do that, and so Dabo's unique in that, and that has spread throughout the coaching fraternity, and so they know he's a guy that takes care of his coaches.
Well, we got another one, kind of switching gears here a little bit off the defensive coordinator, DeMonte Capehart. Everybody's kind of still waiting to hear what's the latest that you guys have been able to report or things that you can share on the show for that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we can tell you this much. DeMonte is looking into getting an extra year back. In his second year, he only played in 5 games. And so that's a year they think that maybe he was redshirted, and then his second year he played in 5 games because of injuries. They're trying to see if they can get that year back. So he's kind of waiting on that news, or maybe he's got that news already and he's trying to figure out what he's going to do. I'll tell you this much. A week from today, he's got to tell us what he's going to do because he's either going to enter the NFL draft or he's not, but he's got to declare for the NFL draft by next Wednesday. So I think we're going to find out something here in the next, definitely in the next week. I think he'll do it before then. Usually Clemson players don't wait up to the last midnight hour before they make that decision to go into the NFL draft or not. So I think we're going to find out, here pretty soon, but that's where he's at right now. So he's got a decision to make. Hopefully he's got that decision to make, because if it comes back, this NCAA says, no, can't get that extra year back, then he's going to obviously just go pro. But he still could, even if the NCAA says it.
Tiger Fan 24 said that he's going to hop on PlayStation and ask him because they're friends. So maybe we'll get the news right here from Tiger Fan 24.
Hey, if you can, Tiger Fan 24, and he tells you, let us know. Please go on our message board and tell us what you heard. We'd appreciate it. Definitely. Boy, that'll be a scoop right there. Now I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah, we'll get some PlayStation screenshots on the rock on the Clemson Insider message board. That'd be something. That'd be a first for figuring out what it'd be. Will, who would you I know you kind of went into it in your dream board.
No.
Yeah, I got another one that's no.
Ron, that's no. Okay, that is no. I'll tell you. I could just say no. That's all I'm gonna say right now. I do have a reason why I say no, but I won't say it publicly.
I could have told you that one. How about this one, Will? How about that?
Saving like his kiwi. Man, wouldn't that be something? Dabo Swinney and boy, what would college football do if that happened?
I think it would implode. It would break people's brain because they had this narrative for so long that there's like two ways to do things, and if they existed in the same building, I think it'd break people's brain. It'd be kind of fun to watch ESPN the next morning and see what they had to say about that. Maybe they wouldn't be talking about how Clemson's just a little Southern school anymore.
Exactly. Just a little Southern school.
That both his kids went to, Kurt.
Tickle Tiger wants to know Collins, special teams coach. Guys, we have some information on probably the rest of the coaching staff that we'll probably share here in the days to come. Right now, I can't share it just yet. We're still trying to confirm some things, but we could have some information for you in the days to come on the rest of the coaching staff. Hey, how about this guy?
Look at that guy.
Beards. Phil Sykes.
When's he going to join the club? When's he going to join the club?
We're waiting on you, Phil. When are you going to join the club, buddy? My beard, I think, is a little bit more trimmed than Alex's. Alex's seems to grow out better.
I'm trying to get I was looking at some pictures and had a big, burly beard, and I think I'm going back to that. We'll see.
Well, this is my playoff beard. I started it. Well, I had it going already before then, obviously, but I haven't really shaved since.
Will's lying. He grew that beard out after Clemson won the national championship in 2018, and he said he'll shave it again when they win another one. So he's been working on that for a few years. It's like 6 years into that beard right there.
This is my playoff beard. So I figured I hadn't shaved since the college football playoff game. And so I figured because the Steelers are going to be in the playoffs, I'll just wait until the Steelers are done, which probably is going to be this Saturday. So I'll get to shave by Saturday, but this is where I'm at right now.
Might get to shave like at halftime on Saturday.
I need
the way things are going right now. Kind of looks like you might be shaving at halftime and just hoping to turn the tide. I don't know. When did you start that beard? Did you start that beard like with 5 weeks to go in the season or something, or 4 weeks to go in the season? You might figure out what's wrong with the Steelers. It might be Will's beard.
That maybe it is. Maybe it is. No, I started this beard before then. But I think I started in maybe mid-September. Late October is when I started letting the beard grow back. But, anyway.
Man, Craig just put up like maybe the craziest great idea that I've never heard of before. Any thoughts on Clemson using their BMW connections in Germany to set up a future kicker pipeline for all these soccer kids that want to come to college in the United States? Has always seemed like a no-brainer to me, but never see it happen. Hey, Craig, you might be onto something. You might need to call the 110 Society or something and say
call Graham Neff.
Yeah, Paul Journey. It sounds like a job for Paul Journey. So who knows?
Well, right now,
anybody working in a factory in Germany that knows how to kick a football? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, 2028, we might need a new kicker. 2027.
And Alex, right now, I think you're good. You're good with kicking.
That's what I'm saying. 2027, 2028.
Yeah, 27, 28. Because I like that guy named Hoosier. That's he's pretty good.
But anytime a guy can wink and then kick a game-winning field goal, That's the longest one in like 3 years for a school. I like that guy. I think I'll stick with him.
Not just you know, wink, but like just like go up there and just nail it. Like, just like wink, like, it's only 56 yards. It would be only the longest kick to win a championship in college football history.
Yeah, exactly.
No pressure, and he nails it. Just didn't. What I mean, it was unbelievable. That was a great moment. If you haven't heard Don Muntz's call on that, it's like a great call. If you guys go back and listen, it is an amazing call. One of my favorite calls of all time.
Well, here's the story
behind that. Here's the story behind that.
You tell them that, yeah.
Yeah. So here's the story behind that. We're sitting in post-game interview, and Don and Tim Beret and I believe Stanford was with them. They come down, and Stanford Rogers. They come down and they're like, Stanford's such a nice guy. He says hello and stuff like that. And Stanford is the spotter for Don. And so anyway, they come down. I think Reggie was with them too. Reggie Merriweather was with them as well. So they come. I'm sitting there, and we're going through like who's going to write what and all this stuff. And I see Don, and I go, Don. I was like, dude, I can only imagine what that call was like. And he's like, he says, I got it if you want to hear it. And I said, yeah. So he had it on his phone already. I already had the producer send it to him. And it was a great call. And then he let me have it. And so I got it on my phone as well. And Don, I did send it to Alex. I know you told me not to send it to a bunch of people, but I sent it to Alex.
I don't think he'd be too mad about me getting it. I was in Las Vegas, so the call for me, I was working the National Finals Rodeo, and I had it on a screen off the. I didn't get to watch much of the game at all. I saw like the first quarter, and then I would like check the score or whatever as I walked down the hallway. And then right at the end of the game, I get back to the table, and I had it on my monitor. And I saw Adam Randall, and then I saw the pass to Williams, and then Hoosier steps up, and I looked at everybody at the table. I'm like, well, it's going overtime. The same thing that everybody that had seen Clemson kick field goals this year thought, or the last 2 years.
I thought it would be blocked and returned.
Yeah, I'm like, SMU's going to house a blocked field goal. But I'm just sitting there, and there's a room full of media. We're kind of running the press room. And he made the field goal, and I just said, "Ooh!" And everybody was like, "What?" And I was like, "Oh, nothing. Just 56-yard field goal, no big deal."
To win a championship, no big deal at all. Let's see. I'm trying to check out some of the comments that came in earlier.
Yeah, I like Don's call of the field goal, but Reggie's response was amazing.
Yes, it was. It was. I agree. That was awesome. That was one of the. If you haven't heard that call, go back and listen to it. It's one of the best. What did Clemson run under Brent Venables? They ran a 4-3. They also ran a little nickel out of that. Brent also did a. He liked to run the 3-4 at times. You see him run that. He runs some dime as well. Brent was very creative on how he used his safeties and linebackers. Especially when you have a guy like Isaiah Simmons, what you can do. They played mostly odd man front, though, that year Isaiah Simmons was a senior. So Brent did a lot of different things. His base was a 4-3, but he ran a lot of different things out of it. So I like I said before, I think they can run a 3-4 with the personnel they have. They played a lot of odd front this past season at times. And a guy like Peter Woods, he's a perfect defensive end in a 3-4. He's prototypical 3-4 defensive end, like a Cam Hayward and those kind of guys. He can play the nose, or you can move him out to play that defense. And Nick Eason, by the way, played defensive end in the Steelers 3-4. So Nick knows how to run this 3-4 because he played in it when he was with the Steelers. And so that's another thing that's an advantage if a coach comes in and wants to run it. You got a coach that can help you coach it. Anyway, but Brent was mainly a 4-3. That was his base. And I won't be surprised if Clemson keeps that as a base. This past year, their base was not a 4-3, though. It was a 4-2-5. And they just didn't work well. I did not like that as the base. I did not like it. It didn't to me.
I think a lot of it
field is not, to me, is not, that's why you couldn't stop the run. One of the reasons. The other was there's no defensive end. to set the edge, and guys were out of position a lot, and we can go to a whole bunch of things.
Well, the thing I think that probably is the biggest difference between what Brent was able to do with a lot of different looking personnel. I mean, he had personnel with a lot of different feel over his time as Clemson's defensive coordinator. But the thing I think that worked the best for him is he was able to, like you mentioned, when they ran a bunch of nickel and odd man front when Isaiah Simmons was there, he was able to adjust to his personnel and kind of put his guys in the best position, which that's what comes from experience. You know, that's why Dabo wants to look for an experienced defensive coordinator, because maybe there were some times this year where you didn't have the personnel to run a 4-2-5, but maybe you did have the personnel to run more odd front, or maybe you had more personnel to run 4 linebackers. So that I think is part of the reason Dabo wants to go outside the house, is because you want that experience to be able to adjust for your personnel. And the more defense you've coached, the more personnel that you've had as a coach, the better you're going to be at adjusting for your personnel.
Absolutely. I'm asked here, who would you want to be your D coordinator, Will? Who would be your choice? It's a great question. Well, first of all, the guy that, as I just told you guys, doesn't seem like he's a candidate anymore. That's one of my first choices would have been Banks, Tim Banks at Tennessee.
Yeah.
I like his defense. It's an aggressive defense. I like the fact that their defensive line was very dominant the last couple of years. That's something Clemson needs to have back. That's when Clemson was at its best, their front four was just dominating. And that's why Brent could do so many different things on the back end, because he had a front four that could just control a game. And when you have a front four that's that good, it allows you to be so much better on the back end and the different things you can do to confuse a quarterback. If I had to guess another guy, I like Haynes out of Indiana. I really do. He's an aggressive guy, just like Brent Venables. That's who he reminds me of. He puts a lot of pressure on the quarterback. He runs a lot of crazy schemes. If you watched Indiana play this year, you saw that. He's got, he seems like he's a guy that can coach things up and get his guys to understand what he wants to do. Because when you can go to JMU and be that successful and then come to Indiana and then coach up the guys who stayed there and get them coached up to where they play with the other guys that came in and jail like they did, that tells you that's coaching, in my opinion. So he's a guy that I would like. Another guy I personally like also, I like Leonard from what he did at Wisconsin. If you go back and look at those Wisconsin defenses from 16 to 22 that he was a part of, those are some doggone good defenses at Wisconsin. And, one guy, he coached, I think's really good, TJ Watt.
That guy's pretty good. I think that guy's pretty good.
Yeah, that guy's pretty good.
Guy.
Nick Herbert, another guy who's pretty good that plays for our Steelers, Alex. He's pretty darn good too. I can keep going on and on. The defensive players when he was there that are now playing in the NFL, and playing at a high level in the NFL. So, he's another guy. I think those would probably be the three that I would like to see because of their experience and because of the kind of defenses they employ. To me, Dabo Swinney is looking for a guy who can be aggressive on defense, pressures the quarterback, and the number one thing, Alex, stop the run.
Yep.
He wants the coordinator who can stop the run, and those guys I just gave you all are big on stopping the run.
Well, another guy that maybe wasn't on your golden short list, but I really like Santucci at Georgia Tech. Anybody that can take a unit that. Look what he did at Duke under Elko. He was a great defensive coordinator there for that 1 year. He was really good at Texas A&M before that as an assistant. He's great at Georgia Tech this year. Look how bad that defense was that he inherited at Georgia Tech when Brent Key brought him in. And that unit was going toe-to-toe with the Georgia Bulldogs. I know there was a bunch of points scored in that game, but also went to 19 overtimes or whatever. But went toe-to-toe with them and matched up well against the teams on their schedule with not great personnel. They didn't have great personnel in that defense that Santucci was coaching this past year. But he's able to get them in position to make plays and made them kind of play above their skill set. A thing that you mentioned, Brent Venables, he always got guys to play above their skill level. There were several guys that did that too, and you can kind of see how that bore itself out when guys tried to go to the next level. But that's a thing I like about Santucci. But again, you want experience, or do you want a guy who's maybe younger, creative, or innovative, or doing something different? Seems like experience is going to be the ticket here. But there's always different schools of thought when it comes to hiring a coordinator.
Yeah, Santucci to me was when I watched Georgia Tech play, you could tell how fundamentally sound they are.
And you saw how hard they played for him.
Yes.
That says a lot, how hard those guys played for him.
Yeah, and very rarely were they out of position. They weren't the best talent in the world, but they went from being like, the worst team in the world stopping the run to I think they finished in the top 40 this year. And 1 year under him, they went from last at stopping the run. Because I think last year, I know they were last in the ACC. And this year, they finished above Clemson in stopping the run. I think they finished 8th or 9th in stopping the run this year in the ACC. So that means they went halfway up the chain, from where they were a year ago when they ranked last. So, yeah.
I mean, in a dream scenario, I want Steve Spagnuolo to say he wants to be a college defensive coordinator for his
right
66. But that's not going to happen. But a boy can dream. I'll put it in the ether that Steve Spagnuolo, he's tired of winning Super Bowls with the Chiefs, and he's gonna come be Clemson's defensive coordinator.
I hope he would leave now because I don't want to.
Can he leave before the playoffs? I mean, we don't need to see him.
And can Travis Kelce retire before the playoffs start? Can he? And the only reason I say that is because I don't want to see Taylor Swift anymore. I'm sorry. I wasn't a big fan of Taylor Swift to begin with, and I'm sure not a big fan now. I mean, it's just like, can we stop seeing Taylor Swift? I'm watching football. We get it. Her boyfriend is Travis Kelce. We get it. Everybody who's a football fan has known that for over a year now. We don't need to see it anymore. You see what I'm saying? Like, do we see Russell Wilson's wife every time? I mean, Russell Wilson's married to a celebrity. We don't see his wife every time, do we? No. Yeah. I mean,
what NFL quarterback hadn't been dating or married to a celebrity at some point?
Yeah.
I thought they showed us Jessica Simpson a lot when Tony Romo was dating her, and this is something else.
I still want to high five Tony Romo though for that.
Also, it is kind of messed up. We're throwing Taylor Swift under the bus on my sister Joy's birthday, and she's a huge Taylor Swift fan.
I'm sorry, Joy, but I'm throwing her under the bus.
But we digress.
Happy birthday, Joy.
Alan Watts said he's with us. Before we go to the next question, I'm with you too. It's just my sister's birthday, so I can't. Christopher Jones with a question on Facebook: do you think there's a good chance Adam Randall moves to running back?
I'm gonna say my opinion. I can't say what is going on behind closed doors. What Garrett Riley and Dabo Swinney and CJ Spiller are talking about. But I think he should, because I think he showed that in the game, in the playoff game. I mean, just natural instincts running the football for a guy who hadn't hardly done it to break off a 41-yard run, doesn't know where he's going. It's like the old I heard Larry Munson talking about Herschel Walker. The first time he came in, and they're like, they brought him into the game, his freshman game. They were down to Tennessee by like 2 touchdowns, and they bring in Herschel Walker's like, what do we got to lose? Tennessee's kicking our butt. What do we got to lose? And they bring him in, and he takes the ball. He doesn't know where he's going, and all he did was just run over a couple people and run into the end zone. And that's kind of what his whole freshman season was at Georgia. And not saying Adam Randall is Herschel Walker. Do not get me wrong. I'm not saying that.
You heard it here first, everybody.
I'm saying that's what that story reminded me of. He gets the ball, first time he touches it, and he goes 41 yards. A guy who's never run the ball. So, obviously, he's got some work to do. He's got to learn pass protection. He's got to do things. But, SMU had a player this past year who was a wide receiver at Miami. They moved. He wanted to be wide receiver. They said, we don't have any wide receivers. He says, well, I want to come there. I'll play any position. They said, well, you want to play running back? Because we're looking for a running back. And they move him to running back, and all he becomes is all ACC. So if he can do it, why not Adam Randall do it? He runs hard. He's run fast. He's got nice instincts. I say do it.
Well, here's my thing too is, even if you don't have him as a true running back, like you're not using him the way that you think of running backs typically use, man, you could run like some full house pistol sets and throw in some extra option plays And you can kind of create packages around a player like that where, maybe you can bring him out the backfield and throw him on a wheel. Maybe you can put him, kind of like an H-back spot and almost run like a short and jet sweep, kind of like a underneath pop pass type thing. There are a lot of looks that you can get from Adam Randall that maybe aren't even just true running back sets if maybe the pass pro is a little bit harder for him. But you can definitely throw some sets in there and run some crazy formations and use them that way. Especially like you mentioned, somebody mentioned in here with all the talent at wide receiver that Clemson has coming into the year. You can definitely use them some way.
Yeah. Plus, way more talent. Right? Yeah, way more talent. Wide receiver. Thanks, Matt. I'm blind, guys. I gotta get I don't have my glasses, and I can't tell you why I don't have my glasses.
That would be the Steelers.
Let's just say the Steelers caused my glasses to break, and that's what we'll leave them there.
And also, Matt, the Tennessee Titans fan, I am not related to Kevin Dodd. I don't know if that's hard for you to believe, but we are not related.
Kevin Dodd, man, wow, what a name, a flash from the past. That guy, man, somebody was asking me the other day, like, who are some Clemson players that, like, we saw, like, had big games in the playoffs and all that. Kevin Dodd is the first one, that I mentioned, because I'm like, he came out of nowhere in those playoffs, man, and just was dominant and ended up getting himself a second-round draft pick because of it. I mean, imagine if he played his whole career like that, what could have happened for him. But it really came on, and that was a sign of, how good Clemson was and still is at getting guys and developing them. Let's see.
We're getting a lot of kind of callback questions, what we talked about earlier in the podcast.
You can go back
and listen. Well, you can go back and listen. People that are asking questions about Jeremiah Alexander or, about transfers or about defensive coordinator candidates. A lot of that we talked about earlier. This is going to be on Spotify later. It's going to be on Apple Music. It's going to be, Apple Podcasts. It's going to be every Amazon, every platform where you get your podcast, you can go back and listen to after.
Absolutely. According to Flight Plan, a plane went from Green Bay from Clemson. Is Jeff Hafley to Clemson? I don't think so. I
don't think he's taking any flights this week for Clemson.
I think he's worried about coaching the Packers in the playoffs right now. So I don't think that was Hafley. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. Would Jeff Hafley be a good hire? Yeah, absolutely, he would. He's a heck of a defensive coordinator. The job he did at Ohio State before he took the Boston College job, him and Dabo are definitely friends. So it makes sense. It would be a big splash if Dabo was able to pull it off. But guys, he's not going to talk to somebody like that till after they're done with the playoffs. And so, that's just not going to happen at the moment. But remember what Dabo said in his quote the other day. He says he's going to start doing his due diligence or whatever. And he says it might be, the end of the month or whenever he get it done or sooner. Well, guys, think about it. What happens at the end of the month? Well, the college football playoffs are over. Yep. Also, what happens at the end of the month? Well, the NFL playoffs are over. So let's I think Dabo's telling us there's a couple candidates he wants to talk to that are still coaching and will be coaching for the next couple of weeks at least. So I wish I could say, we could say, yeah, he is, or, but the thing is right now, there's no reason to say anything because, they got playoff games to worry about and all that. And that's kind of where those guys are at the moment. So anyway,
lots still to be determined on that front. But the good news is you can always go on the Clemson Insider, whenever, and they're going to have you morning, noon, and night been giving updates on the coordinator search.
Trust me, guys. I am working the phones constantly.
If
you see me looking to the side, it's because I'm getting text messages.
The reason that Will hasn't actually shaved his beard is because he hasn't had time because he's been trying to figure out who the Clemson defensive coordinator is going to be.
This is my defensive coordinator's beard.
Yeah. He's not shaving it until Clemson has a defensive coordinator.
Anyway, I know we were going to talk about the transfer portal, and I want to mention this, Alex, before we go here in a little bit. Clemson did a great job, not with just the transfer portal guys. They brought in Alexander today. We talked about Smith and we talked about Will. Those bringing those guys in and what they mean. But really what was like the biggest thing, and somebody asked about is Gunn coming back? Yeah, he's coming back because I haven't seen where he's not, and school's already started and the transfer portal's closed. And yeah, as of right now, I would say that, yes, he's coming back. Now that could change. Understand is what people need to understand. Just because they're coming back now and they're going to be in the spring semester, after spring practice, you'll probably see some more guys go in the portal because they're going to see where they are in the depth chart and they're going to want to play. So they're going to make that move. I don't know who or if that happens, but when it does, we'll be able to tell you. But I want to say this, though. Kudos to Dabo, man. And kudos to Jordan Sorrells, the general manager. And kudos to the rest of the coaching staff. Kudos to Ipte for kind of saying, hey, we'll help you out. Kudos to the 110 Society. And, guys, kudos to you. There's some of you out here watching today that I know gave money to the 110 Society, that I know helped out with that. And your reason why Clemson was able to retain their star players. You got Kay Klubnik coming back. You got Peter Woods coming back. And by the way, guys, Peter Woods and TJ Parker, Alabama was after him hard. Alabama was after him hard. Okay. And Clemson was able to keep him here. Also, you were able to bring back Wade Woodaz. You're bringing back Blake Miller, probably the biggest get of all because everybody thought he was gone. Everybody thought he was off to the NFL. Antonio Williams, another big get that a lot of people thought was off to the NFL. Clemson was able to get him to come back for another year. Kudos to all the people I mentioned because, Alex, I know you're excited. You sent me a message after the playoff game. You said, I don't know if they can get all these guys back. I don't know if I've ever been excited for an upcoming season as 2025. That was your text to me after the playoff game.
I said that it's been 10 years since I was this excited.
That's what you said.
I think that's my exact text. It's been 10 years since I was this excited about an incoming roster because of all the guys that are coming back. Because, hey, I mean, that 2018 team, I know that's what some of you guys are going to be like. You weren't that excited in 2019? Clemson lost a lot of guys after 2018. Coming into 2018, Clemson, who knew what they were going to look like? You didn't know who your quarterback was going to be. You thought it was going to be Kelly Bryant the whole time. So there were a few reasons why this is the most excited I've been in a long time for I can't, these comments.
I know. I'm laughing at the comments too.
But yeah, there are a lot of reasons to be excited going into this season. You added some depth on your defense. You're going to have a new defensive coordinator. Your offense, man, you brought back all your star players. And goodness gracious, these comments that we are not going to endorse that are really funny.
And they're coming in from Twitter. They're coming in from Facebook. They're coming in from YouTube. So it could be anywhere.
Right. Yeah. That's the other thing. Antoine, I agree with you. 2016, you knew you were going to win the national championship. You just knew it. So it's kind of a different kind of excitement.
Yeah.
It's a different excited I've been since then. So
I wouldn't say you knew it. You expected it in 2016.
You expected it. Right. Yeah.
In 2018, you expected it.
Yeah.
Because all the guys were coming back and you expected it. So yeah, that's a little different thing. But I tell you what, man, it's been fun, man. And I tell you, covering Clemson the last 10 years has been, I can't imagine, it's been wonderful for me. I just, when I took the job back in 2004 to cover Clemson, and never did I think I would be getting to cover and talk about college football playoffs and, national championships and, all that stuff that we've gotten to do over the years. And so it's been awesome, man. And those two seasons were as fun as any. The 2019 season was a blast. My favorite season, though, and they didn't win the national championship, was 2015 because it reminded me of 1981. The whole upstate of South Carolina was just going crazy. They couldn't believe Clemson was where they were at, and they were on this run, and that, it was very similar to 1981. Alex, everybody always asks me, what was 1981 like? 2015 is what 1981 was like. And that's why I remember that season. I'm glad you got to experience it because now you kind of know what I got to experience when I was a young kid, and got to see the 1981 national championship season up close and personal. That was awesome. And so to get to experience it then professionally in 15 and 16 and 19, in 18. That was, it was unreal. And now, like,
and it was good too, because in 17, 18, and 19, and 20 and 21, you get to do it with me, so that made it even better.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that was the cherry on top of the whole thing. But, let's before we get out of here, man, let's see if we got a couple more questions we can answer. Again, as Alex said, we talked about the whole transfer portal stuff and the coaching search at the beginning of the podcast. So feel free to go back.
Could be its own podcast. From John Grant, tampering is the biggest problem in college sports. It seems like it would be extremely easy to fix if the NCAA wanted to. I think it has a lot to do if the NCAA could, is another part of it too.
Yeah,
because
I don't know
one big thing. I don't think it's easy to fix because I was talking to people about this in the office the other day about how much more structure there is to free agency in the NFL. Like, well, one, you have 32 teams. So you have a lot less teams to deal with. You don't have 168,
and
plus all the lower divisions. You also have oversight. You have a general manager and you have a league office that can actually investigate these things, as opposed to NCAA. That, I mean, let's be honest, guys. They might have money, but they don't have the resources.
And
they also don't have. Yep, and they have a players union, and they have legal backing to be able to do what they want to do, which the NCAA is. Man, they feel like they're the Cleveland Browns or something. Every time they go to court, they lose. So that's another part of it. I don't think it's as easy as a fix as we think it is.
Right. And the thing, and also they have the NFL draft. And so if a team is caught tampering, they'll lose a draft pick.
Yep.
A first round draft pick, the one you don't want to lose, and so, or you could lose 2 draft picks, so that's something else the NFL was able. So guys, and it's happened. New England Patriots have lost a couple draft picks. The Rams have lost a couple draft picks for tampering with coaches or players before they were supposed to, in free agency or whatever. So you got to be careful in the NFL because you can get caught. It does happen. In college, it's so big and it's so spread out. How are you going to catch them? Yep. Alex, if I want to go talk to, I want to go talk to South Carolina's quarterback and get him to come to Clemson, all I got to do is go get a burner phone and go down there and call and say, hey, man, what do you want to do? And nobody can trace it. Like, there's no way they could trace it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Or you just go wait outside the dude's class in street clothes. It's like there's a ton of ways you can do it and not get caught. Fly into Charlotte and say you're seeing your mother-in-law or whatever. There's a lot of ways to get around it in college because there's no oversight. There's just not. And there's not going to be for a while. Maybe there will be a smaller league one day and there will be oversight, but right now, not happening.
Not happening at all. Well, with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up, buddy. We appreciate you guys joining us. Been a great show. Appreciate all the questions. Continue if you want to continue to talk, if you want to on the platforms and all that. You can watch our podcast here again. Go back and watch it for those who just joined us. We did talk about the coaching search and all that. That's at the start of our podcast. So go back and watch that. You can also listen to it on the Believe Network. Also, you can get it wherever you get your Apple Podcast or Spotify or anything like that. And when you get your iPhone too, because it's on there. It's on your Apple Podcast.
It's on there. You can definitely get it on your iPhone. I promise.
So you can go back on Facebook and watch this. You can go back on YouTube and watch this, or on Twitter as well, or X, I should say. So anyway, we appreciate you joining us. For Alex Dodd, I'm Will Vandervort. Until next time, we'll talk to you on Believe in Clemson Football.